Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Worries and Wine. And today I'm here with a great friend of mine. Her name is Jessica.
Hey y'all.
Yes, so before we get started, I want you guys to know that today we are drinking a little bit of the red wine. This is actually a sparkling red wine. It's called Roscato. It's about $9 in the store, so make sure you guys go and check that out. It's one of my favorites actually. Shout out to Olive Garden. Y'all hooked the sister up. So Jessica and I, you guys, just to give you a little bit of background about us, we've been friends since high school.
Long time.
We not finna tell our ages. we not. But we, you know, we that's been a long time,
girl.
Yeah,
long
we've always
time.
managed to keep in contact every year. There's never been like a solid break. It's always we always end up managing like hanging out.
Love.
Yeah, that's what that is. So Jessica became a mother
Very young.
at a very young age. So she's been through some different adversities with that. And today she's going to kind of go into what it's like to be a single mom and how that has affected her and her child. So
yeah, well, she's almost a grown woman. But no, I became a mom at 19, straight out of high school. And so my daughter, don't need to know her age. But so I was 19, and her dad, as you know him, is not active. So she sees him maybe once a year, and he lives around the corner. So he's local, but she only sees him about once a year. So now, we haven't been together for about 10 plus years, so now we're good. But when it first started, so it was like, I broke up with him, and he also broke up with her.
Wow.
And so when we broke up, we were living in the same complex, actually. Me and my best friend had a place in the front. He was in our old apartment in the back. Didn't see her. Weeks, months.
Didn't run into her, didn't...
Nothing. But if he heard I had a dude at the house,
he would come over.
Not to see his baby girl, though. But so that was an issue because he has had anger issues. And the relationship that I had with him was very abusive.
Toxic.
Very toxic. I'm in therapy because of that toxic. So, you know, after all that, she starts getting older. He comes around every once in a while. And I'm just like, okay, well, maybe that's enough. Maybe if I just give her a little bit of time, anything. You know, just anything. Because I grew up without dad. Anything. And the older she got, the less it got. And so...
Do you think that was because of her? Like, she became less interested at that point? Because that's what kind of happened for me. A lot of people don't know this about me specifically, but my biological father used to live right around the corner from me as well. And we didn't even run into each other at the store.
It's crazy. Because we didn't run into him either.
Right. And you would think because it's such a small... proximity of where everything is at and how we are as people that we're always at the store, we're always stopping here, even at the gas station. Never ran into him.
Nothing.
So I understand that completely, but it's just like, you're around the corner. How could you...
Girl.
Yeah, that's troublesome. So was it less on her part? Like she just said, you know, I'm going to start pulling back, or was it more just him keeping her at bay?
No, that was all him.
Okay.
That was all him.
Okay.
She's like, what dad? He probably doesn't even know my grades, what grade I'm in. He doesn't probably, you know. And so I'll ask her randomly, did your dad call you? She look at me like, for real, Mom?
Wow. Like, girl, you know what's up.
You know. And so now she's very... My mom's side of the family is all I need. My aunts, my cousins, and everything. And he sent her a picture of his new baby.
Oh, so he has a new...
He has 2 kids after Jasmine, and his wife had a couple of them. Okay. You know, so they're like a blended family. So he sent her a picture of the new baby, but did not wish her a happy birthday, a Merry Christmas, happy graduation, like nothing. Weird.
Wow, so he doesn't really acknowledge her as a person, but it's when it's convenient for him.
So now... in my mind, I'm like, damn, it probably affects her because she doesn't have that man in her life. You know, she's never been a daddy's girl. You know what I'm saying? So she missed out on that. And so in my head, in my heart, I'm like, shit, like my baby, she's missing out on everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so sat down with her one day, like, how do you feel about A, B, and C? And she's just like, I don't care. I'm not missing anything. And I'm just like, well, why do you feel like you're not missing anything? She's like, Mom, you give me everything.
So with that being said, Jessica, do you feel like sometimes you overcompensate because of he's not being there?
Girl, yes. 100. And I'm not ashamed about it. I overcompensate.
And you shouldn't be.
1,000,000%. Because also I have a 7-year-old whose dad is 100% active.
Wow.
He's with him right now.
Right.
Every week, almost every day, my son is with his dad. So she doesn't get to see that. And so I'm like, shoot, all right. I gotta do something.
You gotta make her feel special too.
And if my son has 7 gifts under the Christmas tree,
she has 7
She has to have 7 gifts.
Yes.
Because he's getting it from me and then he gets it from them. She only getting it from me.
Right.
And so,
I
overcompensate 100%. And I'm not gonna apologize about it either because it's just like she said, she's not missing out. And that's my thing. Because I grew up without a dad and I feel like I missed out on father-daughter dances and just that man to have my back.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, because I was going to say, how did that affect you growing up not having the father figure yourself? And then how do you think do you think almost like she followed in your footsteps almost? Like almost like it trickled
that
down?
Generational curse is something crazy. But so I grew up without my biological dad, but I had a stepdad in the house. Well, he wasn't even my stepdad, but he was my mom's boyfriend. But he was very abusive as well.
Okay.
And so I still didn't have that father figure, that protection. And so once I started dating, and then my mom passed at 15, I'm looking for love. Just
wherever you can find it.
Somebody loved me. Somebody. Yes. And so he was there. His family was very
supportive.
Family. There's a mom, there's a dad, there's a sister,
It's family oriented, yeah.
Dysfunctional as fuck. But it was
a family.
Which I didn't have because my mom passed. And, once the knot in the rope of the family passes,
everybody just dissipates and goes their own way, right?
Everybody.
We see that a lot with black families when the matriarch or the patriarch that's like holding everything together.
That nana, granny, that's one family.
And everybody starts arguing and people don't see it this way. And all of a sudden you picking which cousins you friends with. And it's, trust me, I think just about every black household has gone through that. And it's detrimental, because you break away from the people that were there for you at one point and then you cut those chains. But I will say this much. If it's toxic, yes, leave it.
Oh, well, the thing about it is when that nana, that matriarch is alive, nothing is toxic.
Everything is fine, right?
Nothing is toxic.
Everybody all of a sudden knows how to talk.
Everyone loves, we all get along. But when that person passes, it's like, oh, you only want me for my little social security I get. You only here because you want my mom's this, and now it's about money and money and money. And
everything becomes dollar signs.
Girl, I was just like, what is happening? So with that going on, my whole family.
And being that you're 15, right?
I was 15. I was a sophomore in high school. And so when that happened, I was still very gullible. Got with him.
And do you think that you stayed with him partially because you were... I'm in search of that love? Like, do you think that's what made you stay? Because I know you said that it was a toxic situation. So is that part of the reason, like, I'm not going to leave because he was there for me during a hard period of time of my life?
It was more like, I'm not going to leave because I don't know what it's going to be like without.
Oh, wow.
Not that he was there for me because he was never there for me. It was... Okay, I'm in this relationship. Because the first year was cool. Very, high school.
Yeah, it's high school. It's that puppy love. That puppy love.
But when shit got real, it's when I got pregnant with her. I moved in with him and his family. And then it just, it got toxic. It shifted. But once I felt like I was in so deep. So now if I leave this,
I'm tearing away.
All alone. It's literally just me. Because I wasn't talking to my sisters at the time.
Oh, wow.
Cousins. Like nobody. And so... It was like, once I leave this toxic relationship, where do I go?
Right.
But then if you think about it, I'm just like, well, I grew up like this. I grew up in the mess.
Right. You grew up in toxicity. You grew up in it, so it was all you knew.
It was like, oh, okay. You know what I'm saying? Then 1 year turned into 5 years. 5 years turned into 8. I was with him for 8 years. So I had Jasmine, and, everything was never cool because it was a cheating.
Right, there was, and I remember hearing about it. I wasn't even like, and there was a time where we weren't like cool as we are now, but we still knew each other, and it was like the business was floating around the area so much.
It was all true.
It was. She said it was all true.
It was all true. It was all true. He did. You name it.
He did it.
He did it.
And because I'm telling you, we were hearing about it in the streets.
And that's crazy because Palmdale is so.
It's so the area that we live in. That's what I'm saying. Like, and for you still to not ever pull up to Walmart, it's like, oh, there go your dad.
Girl,
it never happens.
It never happens. And when I tell you, he lives walking distance from my job. Walking distance. His stepson goes to the school that I work at.
Wow.
Doesn't see her.
So, okay, now here's the issue that I had, because when I was growing up, my biological father, I always felt like I had to be the responsible one and reach out to him, because when I was younger, I wanted a relationship with him.
Will not allow it. Will not allow it. Do not call your dad and ask him how he's doing if he does not call you to ask you how you doing.
And see, I had to learn the hard way, because what I would do was I would incite and start that relationship. And then when I would say, okay, I'm going to start letting him, call me, and then it would start to dissipate. It would just start to just evaporate as if it would never happen. So it was like everything was always happening in spurts. Like, I've always had to reach out to you. I've always had to feel like I had to be an adult, and I wasn't the adult.
Right.
So at some point, I used to just be like, you know what? I don't even want a full relationship with him. And then I found myself saying, why am I having a tough time in relationships? I came upon that. And it was like, I've always had like this big fear of rejection, of like when I would like someone, I wouldn't tell them for a long time, because I would feel like they're going to reject me. Because imagine having...
Because the first man you loved...
rejected me. Now, granted, I had my stepdad. My stepdad has come in, and I call my stepdad Dad, changed my last name to his last name. That's how I got the last name Clark. A lot of people don't know that. So, because that's my stepdad. But people will see me and him and be like, oh, y'all look alike, and it's because he plays such an integral role in my life that I want to give all homage to him. So anything I do that's on a positive note, I want to be able to say it is because of him, not because of my actual dad.
Right.
So a lot of people don't know that about me. So I definitely have to share it, but because I understand what your daughter probably is going through a lot.
Right. And she doesn't, if you think about us, we don't spill our emotions. Right. So she's just like me. We're not like, I feel sad because my dad didn't call me or whatever. We
strong. Just
I have to call our inner gangster.
Right. Okay. The inner thug. Okay.
It's just like, you don't love me.
Fine.
It's fine. Because I have all these people who do. You know what I'm saying? And I make sure that my daughter don't forget it. You know what I'm saying? But I think as she starts dating,
that's when it'll resurface. Yeah. And it will. And I'm here to tell you that it will, because I had no idea that once I started dating that I would pick toxic situations where it would be like that. 1 minute we talking, 1 minute we not talking. And I didn't realize that there was like this chain effect of like you're recreating what has happened
without even knowing.
Without knowing. And it was because I did not address it. And even though I had a father, but it was still just
it's different.
It's different. It's different trying to have that because it's like, you're the one who gave birth to me. Why don't you love me?
Why don't you want me?
Why?
And the thing
why is it?
What makes it even worse is it's not as if me and her dad broke up before she was born or when she was a baby. So she knows who her dad is. And so I'm thinking she's also thinking, you gave birth to me. Why don't you want to kick it with me? Why you don't want to spend time with me? Why you don't do for me? Why don't you care?
Now, here's what I had an issue with as a kid growing up. My real dad had went off and got married, and he had another son. So I do have another half brother out there as well, in addition to the brother that I have at home. And he used to call her daughter my sister. And it used to make me so angry, because I'd be like, there's no relation to you and that girl. But what would piss me off, and it hurt my feelings to the core, it hurt my feelings until I was like in my late 20s. It hurt my feelings that long. Jeez. That you played such an integral role in her life that she calls you dad. And she calls you when she wants to talk to her dad. You are her dad. But you could not do the same thing that you did for your stepdaughter for me, who I'm the one that looks like you.
I'm your blood.
I look, me and him look alike. I'm the female version of him. Like,
it's so crazy. And I don't think that black men even understand how much damage they do literally from just not being there.
Right.
And I tell her dad all the time, you don't have to spend every day with her. You don't have to give her a bunch of money. All I ask is, like, she's 14 now. She has her own phone, so you don't have to go through me.
Right. There's no excuse now.
There's no, because at first that was the excuse.
Well, I got to call you to talk to her.
And you're not with her all the time. That was the excuse. I don't want to hear that shit. So I had got her the Obama phone.
Okay.
Way back when it first came out.
Shout out to Obama for them phones.
But no, so I got her the phone, and I was like, okay, well, here's her number. Now you can directly call her.
So you gave him a way to alleviate even having to deal with you.
Yeah. I've always tried to make it easy because it was never about the issue that me and him had. Because that's over and done with. It is what it is. It's gone. Right. You know what I'm saying? So it was always about, I don't want my daughter to feel what I felt growing up. And so I'm like, okay, cool. When it comes to money, at that time, it was Obama phone. So I was like, just every once in a while, just get a little pink whatever.
Right.
Just buy her something pink. Didn't do that. So I ended up getting her the Boost Mobile. Okay. So I'm like, okay, just pay her cell phone bill. It's like $40. Never did that.
Wow.
I'm like, okay, cool. Months, years went by. Give her $100 a month. That's all I'm asking. Give her $100 a month, and I can buy her a new pair of shoes every month.
Right. She can at least expect that, and she could say it's from her dad.
Never. He never did that. She's 14 years old now.
So did you go down the child support route?
Oh, he's on child support now. Okay, but it took me a long time.
It took you a long time to get to that point. It took me a
long time because I didn't want... When you think of child support, everybody thinks of drama.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks it's an issue.
They're like, oh, you got your child support? Yeah.
Yeah, so now you and your baby daddy trip. And it's like, oh, no, it's not about the relationship between my baby daddy. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm a good baby mama.
Hello.
Okay, and I try. I'm just like, whatever. Like, even my son's dad, he don't financially help.
But he's in his life, though.
He has my son, probably more than I do. Because I work. You know what I'm saying? And so our shifts are a little bit different. And so he's always with him. And then he's a boy. Right. And so I'm like, you need to go play with your dad because now you're starting to sit like mommy and I don't like it. Right. You need to go to your dad's house a little bit, And so he don't miss out. And so it's never about the relationship between the mom and the dad for me. You know what I'm saying? There's a huge effect that black men don't get that they have on these kids. Not as children, but as adults. My daughter's not affected right now. Right. When she gets her first boyfriend, that's when you're going to see it. He's going to look just like her dad. He's probably going to sag. He's going to talk like it. He's going to treat her just like her dad did. But I try to put it in her head like, that's not okay. Right. If a man likes you, he loves you, he don't talk to you like that. If he likes you, he loves you, he don't do A, B, and C. Right. And so, I put it in her head. But at the end of the day, she's going to be a woman. Right. In her emotions. And she's going to have to learn. It's going to take her a while to get there. It's going to take her a long time. Yeah. As you were saying you were talking about healing. Right. What does that look like for you right now? It is a roller coaster. No one ever in the black community that I've witnessed talks about trying to heal yourself from trauma while being a single parent. And both are extremely hard things to do just by themselves. Right. And combining that shit it's crazy, but you got to do it one day at a time. So for me right now, it's literally one day at a time. Because, so I go to therapy once a week. Okay. But parenting isn't once a week. It's literally like all day. 24/7. It doesn't even in your sleep. Yes. Yes. Even in your sleep. Because in your sleep, you're constantly thinking, damn, did I put the clothes in the dryer? Like, did they do their homework? Did they, A, B, and C, and all that stuff? I got to get this. I got to go get that. Right. Right. And so healing for me right now literally looks like a very slow pace, but a progressive pace. But slow and steady wins the race. Slow and steady. Because when you try to rush the process, you just crash it and burn it. Yeah. All the time. Because you don't get to focus on things. So you thought you were healing. Like, I'm over it. And then finding yourself in another situation by not giving yourself the adequate time to heal. And I think that's something people struggle with is trying to understand how long does it take you. And really the answer is it's based on you. It's going to be based on you. It's going to take time because
what we fail to realize is as long as it took us to get in that toxic stage, and as long as it took us to realize now, okay, I'm far removed from the toxic stage, and now I want to start working on it. You might be talking about 15 years of toxicity, and now you're like, so how do I heal? Okay, I'm healed in 3 months. It's not. That's not realistic.
No, I'm still healing from things that happened when I was 15.
Right.
12, 10.
Right.
And it's very slow, but it's very steady. It's not. I kept trying to compare myself to my peers, people around me that are doing better, right? Yeah. And I'm thinking like,
that comparison.
She's traveling. They bought a house. They got a new car. Oh, she has a nice job. And it's like, hold on. None of them went through what you went through. And so what trauma does is it pauses you.
Right.
Wherever the trauma started.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? It pauses. And then in the midst of my trauma, I had babies. And so what I tried to do to heal was get into another situation. Now, my situations were men. Men and attention from men were my drug.
Wow. It became an addiction almost. I needed it.
It's an addiction. It's definitely an addiction because what it does is it takes you out of, whatever basically.
Because you now got to focus on this other person. So instead of really focusing on you, I'm focusing on whatever we're trying to build, whatever we're trying to do. But really, you can't build anything if you haven't started taking the time to build on you.
Yeah. That shit just gonna crumble. Boom.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. It was men was my a scapegoat.
Wow.
Because not to toot my own horn, but getting a man's attention, it's very easy for me.
Right.
You're very easy to, you know what I'm saying, to pick. And then when I was done, it was like
okay, toss you to the trash and on to the next.
Okay, and then I'm like, okay, I'm cool. Let me get cute for myself. And I'm like, I miss the attention. Let me call Tom, Dick, or Harry, and then it starts a cycle over and over
again.
And you're never happy until you're happy with yourself.
So let me ask you this. So I know that you said you're in the stage of healing. I want to ask you, two things. One, when did you get to the point where you said, I need to heal?
When, y'all don't judge me, when I was somebody's side bitch.
Oh.
Yes.
You started stooping that low.
Well, I didn't know.
You didn't know. Okay, so that's fair.
To my defense, I didn't know that he had a whole fiance.
Wow.
But I found out, stopped talking to him for a little bit, and then I went back.
And that's when it was like, okay, what are you doing?
It was like, girl, because of I realized why I went back. It was all the attention. When I was with him, I didn't have to be the employee, the mom. It was not that I could just be Jessica, be a woman. And he would focus on you, dote on you, and it was just that type of love. Worship the ground I walked on, and it was like, oh, this is nice, but I went, and it was like.
But in the back of your head, it was like, oh, he has a whole fiance.
He was planning
a wedding. Not and still coming to see you.
In my bed, crazy. At that point, I was like, okay Jessica, so you are doing the most. And that's when it started, you really put yourself that low. That was, the lowest. Before I was in that abusive relationship, that was the lowest. That was the lowest,
was when finding out you're a side chick, and then you leave it alone, and then you find yourself, just because I want attention, I'm going to go back.
Just because I wanted attention. Not because I was not in love with him.
Right, but it was just that the things that we get out of a relationship. Yes. It's not always about just the person itself. It could be how that person pays attention to you. It's just those little fine things that I understand. I've never been on nobody's side, and if I was, I didn't know.
Girl,
thank God I didn't know. Okay, but no, it's not. So at that point, you realize, you know what, I'm gonna start healing. Yeah. And so now you're on this journey, and you're healing.
Yes, I'm about 4% healed.
Okay.
I have my moments. Where I'm like, okay, let me get cute and feel good about myself. I think a year ago is when I was just like, you a bad bitch.
Come through.
You a bad bitch.
Yeah, because it was the whole you cut your hair, and all of us that were her friends, and it was she cut her hair, and we were like, what is going on? Somebody go get my girl. It was a whole waiting to excel moment because we were I was like, somebody go get Barney. Like, you know, and it was just like, but then when I saw you and we went out to eat when Tasha came out, and it was like a whole new you. And I was just like, oh my God.
It's so different.
It was very uplifting to see you like that, because I do remember always seeing you, and you always kind of had like, you could tell you were going through something. Mm-hmm. And then
you always look like what you've been through.
Right. And it was like, and not that you look bad, because sis don't look bad. Sis is a little baddie, okay? Hey, come through. But it was just like, you know, you could tell that somebody on the surface, that whatever they're going through is creeping out. Mm-hmm. And I was always intuitive with, you know, any of my friends. Like, I could be like, what's wrong? And, you know, when we would go out to eat, we would have these long conversations. You know, we're out eating, and we'd be at the restaurant till they close down, because we just like, come on, let it out, sis, let it out. But, you know, seeing you now, I would say it's probably more than 4%. I would say at least give yourself credit and say at least
I'm about halfway there. The whole time, I would say from the time I was about 31 till now, it's been
a full journey for yourself.
Healing journey. Mm-hmm. No one's allowed to come interrupt my peace, because I'm big on that. Like, I'm big on, this is my area. Mm-hmm. You in my space, and I don't like your vibe. Right. Because you're messing up my vibes.
Yeah. And I'm at that stage too. Yeah. I'm at that stage too.
Because it's also, you have to recognize what happens when your vibe is interrupted. Mm-hmm. So my thing is, when my vibes are interrupted, I'm angry, I'm sad, and I suffer from depression.
Me too.
I'm not allowing no man.
Come on.
I don't care who you are. I'm not allowing no man to put me down in depression again. You know what I'm saying? I know what it feels like.
You've been there, so I've
it's like there.
And I've been there in a sense. And I hate to say that I'm glad that you've been to all those areas and to deal with the depression and the anxiety, because initially when we talk about how it's going to affect your daughter, you and I both know the reality is that she's going to go through it.
Definitely.
She's not feeling it now. Definitely. But we both know that the reality is that it's going to resurface. Mm-hmm. Because what we're really good at this when we're young is being able to suppress. Yep. Because we're so young. We don't really have other worries to worry about. Mm-hmm. We're not really trying to make things work with relationships. Mm-hmm. So you don't have these insecurities. When you're younger, you're very fearless.
Yes.
And then at some age, that all turns off. Mm-hmm. And then you're left with the feelings that have resurfaced. Yep. And now they're here full force, and you don't know how to do it. Yeah. But I'm glad that now you're at that stage where you will be able to recognize it for your daughter.
So I didn't go to therapy for myself. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm raising Black children.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I'm raising a Black woman. I'm going to raise a Black man.
Yes.
And so when I think of me healing, now I can teach Jasmine, like, oh no, that's not how man is supposed to treat you. Even though I didn't grow up in a healthy environment, seeing a healthy relationship. I didn't grow up seeing a man correctly love a woman. That's not how I grew up. But at 33, I can tell my daughter how
it should be done.
It should be done. Mm-hmm. She don't see it, but I'm gonna teach it to you. I just randomly.
You can still teach it, right? It's just like opening a book and teaching yourself, and then being able to say, "This is what I learned." Definitely. You know, and so you're going to be able to give that to, you know, both your son and your daughter. Yeah. You know, and that's why I said I'm glad that you went through that.
I'm glad.
Even though that it's going through there to get to where we're at is not the easiest thing at all. Girl. But, you know, it's going to be good for her though.
No, and I'm very proud. I don't regret anything. Okay. I have one regret. Mm-hmm. And the only regret is that I stayed as long as I did. Okay. So instead of leaving the first time he punched me in the face, I waited 8 years. You know what I'm saying? So that's the only regret that I have, is actually staying as long as I did. Mm-hmm. But I don't regret meeting him, loving him, having a baby by him, experiencing that trauma, because I have that, I can teach my babies, like, you don't have to go through that. That's not love. Mm-hmm. He do not care about you. I don't care if he tell you he does it because he loves you or he has his issues. Tell him to fix his issues and then call you. Yeah. Otherwise, that's not love. And I can teach my baby that because I went through that. Now, if I didn't go through that, now we just hear, and I have to go by what other people tell me. Right. You know, and so at 14, she don't care about nothing but
her video electronics games and her phone.
I'm very grateful. And so I would look at it like, damn, like, my daughter don't have a dad. She don't have a dad. She don't have a dad. And then I turn around, I go up to her room, and I'm looking at it like, She jumping
but she's
around
doing
in the
all right.
room, she's happy. It sounds like you got to pat yourself on the back like you
I
did a
that.
good job.
And you
by
have.
yourself. Like, I have to. It took me a long time.
Right.
It took me a long time to realize I did a good job.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she not fast. I don't, you know.
Right.
She
not dressing out here. She not doing
nothing.
Not doing anything.
Nothing.
None of that.
And I'm like, oh shit! I really did a good job. She walks. She does her chores. I mean, I gotta tell her 40 times, but she does her chores.
But she's 14, and that's what.
And it's like,
yeah, we've been there. Yeah, that's normal.
But see, at 14, I was boy crazy.
Okay, so
kissing kids underneath the tables and all that stuff. So I think about my daughter, and I'm
and like, she's not even like that.
She is not boy crazy,
and you definitely should give yourself the credit for that, because
she is the way that she is. Give ourselves the credit,
because a lot of you guys don't get a lot of the full credit, because you guys become the full-time parents of just, you know, trying to take care of the household, and for her to see that, it'll be good for her in the long run. So.
Definitely.
I think that's what we've learned here, is that you have to keep trucking on and self-heal.
Keep going. Like, that's my biggest thing. Keep going. Just because you got a bump don't mean you stop. When you're driving and you hit a speed bump, you don't stop on top of the speed bump.
You got to roll over it.
You go a little slower, you know what I'm saying?
Right, because now you're like, I know it's something up here, but let me go with caution.
Keep going with caution. Don't be dumb.
Yes.
Don't make the same. Learn from your mistakes. My biggest thing is learn from your mistakes.
Right.
And you have to approach it differently because you're healing. You know, and so we just keep on going, ladies. You got this.
Right.
You know, you might not have the father around, and that's okay. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't have a dad around either. I turned out okay.
Right. You know, it was rough, but we made it though.
But what's easy?
You know what? I think the greatest things in life were the things that we worked hard for.
Yes.
So working hard for yourself. Because here's the thing. We get caught up with this. We get caught up with working hard for somebody else, and we forget to work hard for ourselves. We forget to work hard for what matters for us.
Yeah.
So with that being said, you guys, we're going to wrap up this episode, and we hope that you guys truly enjoyed our struggles, our journey that we're currently on, you know, because it doesn't stop here. It doesn't stop here tonight at all. We pick up tomorrow and we keep going and keep being that positive energy and that positive force for your daughter, Jessica, because we all know that she's going to need it, and you know it, and I'm even more elated to know that you know it. So you're preparing yourself to help her. And that's what it's about. If you know something is potentially going to affect, you know, the children that you're taking care of, prepare yourself for it, you know, so that way they understand that when they get there, that they're not alone, and that the feelings that they have, they're valid. You know, you're that validation for them when we creep up on that.
Yes.
So with that being said, everybody, thank you for tuning in to Worries and Wine. Don't forget that it is okay to have your worries with some wine, okay?
Yes, it is.
And with that being said, make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to turn on your post notifications so you can be notified when I drop another video or decide to go live. Peace. That's a wrap.
That's a wrap, girl.
That is a wrap.